So thank you for having me, and I'm here to convey two messages. One is, how do you make social casino social, and what does it take to compete in this market? It's a very exciting play. Different what's happening right now. When I used to help out with the mobile business for Rovio, the biggest disruption next was free to play. Now the biggest disruption in various sectors in gaming has been social. Interestingly, if you look at social casino, the real social multiplayer real-time platforms have been only launched recently, where there's a true integration of players, and I'll show you some of the some of them are features, some of them are platform specific. But what that means and where we see social casino moving to, because we don't think there's going to be big players around if they don't have real-time multiplayer in a couple of years. So Huuuge was founded in Palo Alto 3.5 years ago. Most of the studios in Europe. And Anton, the founder and CEO, he brought back together a whole bunch of, there we go. He brought back together a whole bunch of old-timers in the mobile gaming business. So we have built up studios now in Berlin as well as in Poland. Very, very experienced crew. And it's exciting to see that these guys have made the jump to free-to-play and now innovated beyond anybody else in the industry. So what is the secret behind that? It's in the platform, as I was saying, and there's plenty of space for growth, both, as we know, in the industry of social casino, but also when you look at the numbers in our specific category. Because some people think, you know, real play, social, multiplayer is going to be a niche and remain a niche. What we've seen in the other segments in gaming is that's actually not the case. So what's happening is we're not only expanding the market, we're also now seeing that we are not just grabbing market share, we're changing consumer behavior. And I'll show you some examples of that. So it was revealed earlier this year that we are the fastest growing in this segment right now. And as you might know, the rewards are pretty solid. So the company is on plan to do 150 million in revenues this year. And as you can see here, this is year-over-year growth. It's all relative, but still looks nice. It's not that we didn't exist a year ago. It's just that we've really crashed into top 10 and top 5 on certain platforms, in monetization even, knowing that there's big players that we're competing with. So there's really 4 pillars. So 4 pillars that start with the brand. So we really centered around Huuuge. And I'll show you some of the exposure there. The network effect, the real-time multiplayer element is baked into our platform, so that is crucial. We have the platform in such a way built up that it's every 2 weeks there's new releases, so it's the speed of execution is tremendous, and we see that it's hard to copy that. And as I mentioned, when you have a team that's been working together for so long, with their track record in the industry, it has become, for us, a major asset. And you know what happens also is we have a great retention in our studios in Poland, for example. So let me run one of our ads that is actually going to be launched this month.
Find Find out what your team is made of at Huuuge Casino, the free-to-play casino games app. Play with friends against rival teams in the Billionaires League.
Huuuge!
And compete for the ultimate bragging rights. Will you fold or will you top the table? Play to win huge in the Billionaires League at Huuuge Casino. Free-to-play casino games for you and you and you. Download Huuuge Casino for free and claim 10 million chips.
So, as I mentioned, it's about brand building. We have TV ads running in several markets, and what we also do is we localize the content, not just with look and feel, language facts, but also with localized content. And that is crucial, either co-publishing or... so that localized effort gives us this tremendous reach. So we're doing really well in certain markets in Asia and in Europe. Another interesting part is, as I mentioned, it's not just building up our market share. It's commonly known that the sweet spot for social casino is elderly, skewing towards women. What we found is, because of the real-time multiplayer elements that we brought to the gaming, we're actually skewing more male, and we're skewing younger. So our sweet spot, as you can see here, is really in the 25, 44 range. And that is of interest to advertisers as well. Plus, it helps us, you're going after users that are cheaper when it comes to acquisition cost. So a couple of points here on what it takes to drive social behavior and what that makes happen. We have your average. So this was in November last year. We had the story of a 50-year-old lady from the Midwest, and she was a solitary player, came onto our platform, and she was put into one of the most socially active clubs. So the clubs are similar to the clans. And all of a sudden, what we noticed was, even though she didn't come in for a multiplayer experience, she embraced it and started spending more. And that was not an anomaly. We first went back to the data and said, hey, is this really happening? And it turns out it is. So you're really changing behavior of segments that I've seen in social casino. I haven't seen in many, many years. So we think the shift is not only there towards the younger players and more male, but also the older age categories that are prone to come in, really socializing and becoming active. It might take them a while, but they become more active on the chat, become more loyal, and their monetization is all of a sudden off the charts. So that is very powerful. So 400,000 clubs have joined, and we have over 1 million chats and messages daily. So this is a bit of what it looks like. So there's a lot of stuff going on where you're building this up. It looks pretty complex when you're thrown into this. So there's really almost a tutorial process to get into the game, so you're not bombarded with all the features at the same time. And what is interesting to mention is you all know how tremendously competitive this space is. So, when we were struggling to even get term sheets a couple of years ago, we finally found some folks that would give us some clean term sheets. We managed to scale it up, but at that time we even had to close down one of our offices and reduce 25% of our workforce, and that is as recent as 18 months ago. We've come a long way. Now we're 220 strong, but it's a tremendous story of how the team has really come together, leaped forward in innovation. So it's really the speed of action that has helped as well. We've got tremendous investors on board right now, and as I said, within no time, the plan was to not break even until the end of this year. We already broke even last summer, so that's that's a great asset to build on. And now we're as you saw, we have a pretty aggressive mission. So we're trying to build on that to build this $1 billion business. And in 3.5 years, we've come to 150 million. So we think we have a fair shot at it. To recap, so what you're seeing is a tremendous focus on brand management, going after new media as well, new target audiences that we haven't seen before, the speed of action, it's the team effort where we have a very loyal workforce that some of them have been with us for years, highly experienced. Interestingly, they're not grouped by title. We actually have them grouped by function, which is slightly unusual for gaming. What I cannot underestimate is if you do not have this real-time multiplayer platform, which most of the competitors lack in this space, we really think you're not going to be at the top of the charts anymore in a number of years. So I'd like to open the room for questions.
You just mentioned the teams were grouped by function, not by game. Could you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yes, so there is some legacy when it came to acquiring talent in Europe. And they said, well, we are willing to join you, but we want to stay put in this whatever city they decided to live in. And in the beginning, we were struggling. We were trying to relocate people. But it turned out that we had to build teams kind of out of necessity, out of those top talented people. And now it works such that we have a truly dedicated platform team in one location that is driving all the other properties. And there's many more to come. So we have now 2 titles that are doing pretty decently. But there's many more to come because it's really this platform play that drives the company. Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about the cost difference in the television advertising that you do versus kind of the traditional avenues?
Right. Yeah, it's you usually when you run big campaigns, you measure the impact, and startups like ourselves don't have the budgets to measure that properly. You have to go to Madison Avenue, and even a brand study would cost you a few $100,000 already. So a lot of it is based on experience and just testing and feeling it. What you can do is you can track a little bit on the timing. So how closely have people downloaded the game to when you add the commercial. So you can do a little bit of tracking more than back in the day, but it's still very hard to define your ROI on TV advertising. We think it's absolutely crucial to build that brand awareness and to have that exposure and that frequency build up, so that there's this brand loyalty that you're building. So it's really the emotional connection with the brand, and it's resonating really well so far. So even though huge is pretty over the top, it's still tongue in cheek, and it's a really fun social experience, and that's why we've been able to also grow by really focusing on the brand management. We've been able to increase our retention numbers significantly, because as a latecomer to the party, that is always the hard part, right? Because you start without any wheels, and it's really hard to churn those wheels from your competitors.
Hi, I noticed that you guys have about 30 different apps in the App Store, for example. Is your primary SKU the Huuuge Casino? I'm just wondering if you can share a little bit about your thinking around those different SKUs and where your focus is, considering your branding play.
Yes, so the most important brand is Huuuge Casino, and then we have Billionaire, and there's a whole bunch of others. If you look at all the media, TV is an odd one, but you have your standard your advertising to drive installs. there's a lot of other media that are underutilized, we think, and one of them is SEO, SEM. This is one way to optimize your search on the app stores. So, and we see a lot of, so they might not monetize all that well, but there's a lot of cross-promote, exactly. There's a lot of cross-promotion happening. So it's a mix. You know, from a brand perspective, you might want to focus everything on one title, but we know that this is such a competitive market, and you know, being late to the party, it really helps to cover all your bases when it comes to user acquisition.
I noticed the Red Bull of digital. Was that an internal goal or an external observation? And what does that mean to you?
They have, I mean, we're bold in a not. I wouldn't say from a brand tonalities perspective we're similar to Red Bull, but Red Bull also wasn't the first. They also upended the market. I think we're. If you look at us, it's more that this title was given to us by some competitors that looked at us and say, hey, you guys are new kids on the block. You're the cool guys, and we really see a lot of our top gamers turn to you because this experience is so different from what we've seen before. And the monetization follows. And if you monetize well based on your LTV, then obviously you can then also be more aggressive in the user acquisition. So it's really, really hard for competitors with outdated platforms to compete with a newcomer like us. Yeah.
Hi. Does the multiplayer feature of your platform help monetization, or does it help your scale? Because you kind of pointed that out as a unique feature behind your success.
So we have over 50% in our clubs, and it obviously those monetize better. There's a higher retention rate, and they also monetize better. So even though they take their time in chatting and giving and what have you, they still have time left to buy more chips. And it's really funny that the one example was, you know, with a virtual economy, you always have to be careful of inflation. And what you're seeing is when you have a real-time multiplayer platform, there's a lot more peer pressure. So all of a sudden, you know, people had in their minds that, hey, I'm playing, and you know, when I drop down to whatever their internal threshold was, I'm down to 150,000 chips, I'm going to buy more. And now it was such that, hey, if I'm the lowest chip deck on the table, I'm going to buy more when I'm down to 10 million. And that's when we first saw that last year, again, we thought it was an anomaly, and it wasn't. It really, really is now across the board. We see it clearly that this peer pressure is turning the screws on. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
All right. Thank you.
Appreciate it.